Let's install Linux. For this guide, you're going to need a PC, a Linux distribution of your choice, and a USB flash drive. First and foremost, the distribution of Linux that you choose is only going to fall into a few categories. If you want a very beginner-friendly version of Linux, get something that's based off Debian. Debian being like this real core, easy-to-use one, and ones that are based off that would be Ubuntu, Mint, or in my case, I like Zorin. And the reason I like Zorin is because it's really user-friendly. I've got my mom on it, my grandparents on it, and whenever I've sold used PCs in the past, I install Zorin on it just because, well, it works. And if you want to be on the bleeding edge of everything, you could go with an Arch-based one, something like Manjaro or Pop! OS. Personally, I'm not so much a fan of them, but they do work. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a OS of our choice, and we're going to download a ISO image. In this case, I'm going to grab the core version of Zorin, and I'm going to go straight to the download. After that, we're going to go to rufus.ie, and we're going to download the program. This is basically going to flash the ISO image to the flash drive. And next, we're going to plug the flash drive into the computer. We're going to open up Rufus, and we're going to select the flash drive right at the top here. Then, under boot selection, we're going to make sure disk or ISO image is selected. We're going to press select, and we're going to find the ISO image that we just downloaded. Now, the partition scheme is going to be a little interesting here. So if you're working with like a super legacy device, like something like 10, 15 years old, you're going to want to select NVR. In most cases, it's going to get it to, boot into it. But for a modern machine like we're working with today, we're going to select GPT. And the rest of these settings here look fine. That's the defaults there. So I'm just going to go ahead and press start. And once it's done making the flash drive, we're just going to go ahead and shut down the computer. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the flash drive plugged in, and we're going to try to boot into the flash drive. Every computer is going to do it a little differently. Some of them you're going to hold escape to find your boot selection. Some of them you'll hold F9 or F2 or who knows which one. Everyone's going to be a little different. In my case, I'm going to hold down escape as the computer is starting. So after holding down the escape button during the startup here, I can actually see the flash drive right down there. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Now we're brought to this selection here, and because I have a modern NVIDIA driver, I'm going to select the third one for the NVIDIA drivers here. Otherwise, you can just select the regular install Zorin OS. And if all goes well, it's going to start up the boot process here. The very first thing it's going to do is it's going to check the flash drive just to make sure that the OS that you flashed onto it is, well, it's fine, because if it's not, well, you're going to be installing a corrupted OS, which nobody wants that. And after a little bit of waiting, it's going to take you to this first initial screen here. It's going to give you the option to either try out Zorin OS, which I would recommend doing, make sure it's got the feel that you want, or just start installing it, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to select Install Zorin OS. I'll select my keyboard preferences. Next, it'll take you to this screen here. It's going to ask you if you want to download updates while installing Zorin. Go ahead and do this if you got an internet connection. Otherwise, you can do it post-install. It'll ask you if you want to install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware. Go ahead and tick that one as well. We're going to set up a password for secure boot. Go ahead and do that. It'll help out with the third-party drivers down the road. And for me personally, I'm not going to install in the census because I install a lot of Zorin and I don't want to just keep adding to the tally. And then we're going to get to the installation type here. So I'm going to be selecting this first option here to install it alongside Windows because I plan to do a dual boot. I still use Windows every so often. It's just I don't like it as much as I used to, so I'm going to primarily use Zorin now. But if you're wanting to do a complete install of just Zorin Linux, you can do erase disk and install Zorin, or you can manually do your partitions, which is possible to do, though that is out of the scope of this guide. And if you're installing Zorin right alongside Windows, it's going to take you to this next one here, where you first you're going to select the drive where you're going to be installing it to, and right here is going to be your Windows partition, and that one's going to be your Zorin partition, and you can just drag it around, pick how big you want it to be, which I want mine to be about 1 terabyte there. And after you drag this around the way you want it to be, or if you just press the erase button and we go to the next screen here, it's just going to start the process after, of course, getting a confirmation from you. And there we go, it's installing Zorin. So it's going to take you through a couple things like setting up your region. And after you select your region, it's going to take you to this screen here where you're going to set up your name, your computer's name, the username that you want to use, a password for it, and whether you want to be logged in automatically. And after you've completed that step, it's just going to go through the install process. And the cool thing about this is pretty much every version of Linux has this exact same install process. Sure, there might be like slight deviations, usually in like the actual appearance of it, but it's all going to be the same steps. It's very, very, very painless. And, well, by the time you're done, you've got yourself a much more powerful machine because, well, it's managing his resources much better. And of course you get the additional perks like, let's say you're doing like a legacy machine and, oh no, I can't run the latest version of Windows 11 and I don't want to do like the TPM 2.0 bypasses and all that stuff, okay? You have a modern operating system at this point. My record so far is I got a Pentium 4 computer from 2005, got it running on a modern version of Windows. And yes, technically, hardware vulnerabilities. Yeah, but the software is secure at that point. So great web browsing machine. And once the installation is complete, it's going to ask you to restart the computer. So we'll just go ahead and select that. And then it's going to ask us to remove the flash drive at some point. If it doesn't do that, just wait for it to, well, see, there we go. Remove installation media. Press enter and done. And if for whatever reason it doesn't do that prompt to remove it, when the computer shuts down, just go ahead and unplug it and then turn on the computer, and then you'll be greeted with this fancy new boot selection menu where you could select Zorin Linux. You could actually, tamper with your Zorin settings here, or boot into Windows. And just like that, I have a fresh copy of Zorin Linux on my computer. And after the install, you can get it customized how you like it. Like I open up this appearance menu here. I can go into themes. I can set it to a dark theme because of course, I just prefer this. And you can even do fun things like go into this effect menu here, turn on jelly mode, which makes the windows do this. And if you want to get some software, you could just go down to the app store that they got right down here, and you can browse their massive collection of free games, applications, and other software that you might want. Or you can go online and look for a deb file, because again, this is just based off Debian. Things that work on Debian, Ubuntu, Mint, it's just gonna work on here. It's all the same thing. And you'd be surprised what all works on Linux. Like I'm grabbing a copy of DaVinci Resolve right now. I'm gonna have Steam. Of course, I'm gonna get like some of the other basics, my VLC, Brave browser, just all those things that I love. And of course, you can also install applications through the terminal and, just learn a little bit about the terminal, which is a good thing to know, but it absolutely is not necessary to use the computer. Again, my mom uses it, my grandparents use it. It's awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much the basics that you need to know to get started with Linux. There's, of course, quite a bit more that you can learn, but with what I've just shown you here, 99% of what you're going to need to know, and you can make your machine absolutely epic. But yeah, if you found this helpful, though, don't forget to like, follow, share, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.